All right, hey, what's up, y'all? So we had an amazing meeting today. It's the second meeting in this Sober October thing that we got going on. I'm going to try to do just a little recap, but if you don't like watching videos from me because you get sick of seeing me and hearing me, like I totally understand. This is all also in the text associated with the post inside the group Sober October. All right. So, first of all, we had a lot of people chime in and share their experiences and their techniques and tactics. So, thank you so much to everyone who shared their wisdom and experience because I felt like that was so useful for all of us. First thing that we want to do is have acknowledge this new goal that we all agreed was going to be extremely beneficial, and that is meditating. Because when you meditate, you cultivate the skill to what I like to call notice what's happening. And what we're really looking for here, specifically for Sober October, is to cultivate the skill to notice our urges and cravings as they come on. Because when we notice them, first of all, temporarily, we're not anymore. As soon as I notice anything, for that moment, I'm present. Then I have a chance to work with it and come back to the present moment. So I shared a brief, I think it's like a 5-minute listening meditation video that I put together for clients. And then also we shared our main meditation resource apps, which include Calm and Headspace. And I love 10% Happier. And then Sam Harris's Waking Up app. Any of those are going to be great. They all have, I think they're all 10-minute meditation sessions starting out. So again, we want to cultivate the skill to see and notice the urge when it comes on because then we have a chance to work with it. And a lot of times when we notice it, the space that is created from the noticing actually helps us move through the urge until at some point maybe it's not there anymore. We also talked today about making sure that you have a clear vision for what it is that you're looking to accomplish or how you want to feel because most of us already know what it feels like to be clean of this thing. And the deal is that the way that we feel today is a reflection of what we did in previous days. So when we wake up in the morning, we feel really good. We want to acknowledge what it was that we did yesterday that contributed to feeling good today. And part of that's going to be being void of whatever it is that we're working with. And on the flip side of that, if we wake up feeling kind of off, we want to acknowledge what we did the day before that made us feel kind of off. And that will give us an incentive to work with it just a little bit more. All right. We also talked about along the same lines using tomorrow for today. So now knowing that what I feel today is from previous day's activities, when I'm in my decision moment, I can use how I want to feel tomorrow to help me make a better decision in this moment. Okay, so the steps for using tomorrow for today is really basically just noticing the urge or craving as it comes on, sitting with it for a moment, giving it a pause, giving it some space, and then you can think about how you want to feel tomorrow. You can give yourself a time deadline, maybe time 30 minutes or 15 minutes, and see if moving through that amount of time will help you move through the craving or urge. All right. And I think whether you go for it or not doesn't matter as much as noticing the urge or craving and just sitting with it for a moment because that space over time gets bigger and bigger and it just something magical happens with that process. We also talked about this is really interesting navigating social situations. And I think this is important to tinker with. In one sense, it's like we want to set ourselves up for success, and so we don't want to go to these places that we're just like overloaded with these temptations. It'd be much easier not to put ourselves in those tempting situations. But we also talked about how at some point we want to get to where we can navigate those situations. So just like I don't want to lock myself up in the house and never go out to eat because if I go out to eat, I'm tempted with fried foods and chips and all these other things that we know we're not going to do or don't want to do. At some point, I want to get to where I can go out and have dinner with my friends and family and make the right choices and not give in to those cravings and urges. And I think it's the same thing with alcohol or anything else that we're working with. In some ways, you want to set yourself up for success, but at some point, you do want to experiment with going out. And this is where it's helpful to have a positive vision for yourself. So instead of dreading going to these things and thinking to yourself, well, it's going to be impossible for me to go here and have a good time without a drink, see yourself going to these social situations and having a good time and being clean and clear and seeing how everyone else acts and behaves. And that in and of itself completely flips the situation around. I can see myself going out and having a really good time because I've done this before in a social situation, a drinking situation, and not drinking and just having a freaking awesome time. We also talked about cutoff times and drop dead times. I think it's useful for whatever it is that we're working with, giving ourselves, especially if it's caffeine, alcohol, or cannabis, giving yourself a time that you're just not going to ever do it past that time. I recommend for alcohol that you never have a drink within 2 hours of bedtime, ideally 3 or more hours, because it's going to mess with your sleep too much. So for me, I'm usually in bed by 7 p.m. My cutoff time is 5 p.m. So if I can just make it to about 4:30 or 5, I'm good, because in my mind I just have no desire or urge for it anymore, because that's my cutoff time. I'm just not going to go past that. So figure out your own cutoff time and use that to your advantage. Try to make it through the day, make it to that point, and then you're good to go. Okay. And then we also talked about visually tracking progress. So Holly had brought up, she's loving using the calendar, a big visual representation of how many days you're stringing together of being good. And at some point, you got your 7, 8, 9, 10 days. You're a third of the way through the month. You want to keep it going. I think that's really useful for a lot of us. If you're in a couple or accountability partner situation, sharing both of your calendars as a little competition might be useful. And then we also talked about, Holly mentioned, keeping it simple. Like, instead of trying to track a bunch of different things, especially if some of those things you're already doing good and they're already good habits, just focus on the things that you're trying to change right now to keep it simple, right? So one big calendar, one big X, or two X's or two lines for maybe two things that you're working with. And that will simplify things and maybe make it a little bit easier, okay? Um, if this stuff is useful, please just share your comments, share your experiences, your successes, your challenges, everything within the group, because I feel like this is really, really useful for all of us, okay? And all right, let me know what you think about this and what else we can do to support you, all right? Talk to you guys soon.